If you're skeptical as to whether or not the SeaSucker Waterport mount can actually hold up a filled 42-pound Waterport, I'm gonna do you one a little bit better. And don't try this at home. This is actually kind of nice. Nope, I'm good. Thank you though. You know what, I'm just gonna get it out of the way now. If you're one of those trolls who like to get into the comments section and draw the attention to yourself, or you're one of those know-it-alls who just has to have an opinion on everything, even if you don't have first-hand experience with it, oh my god, this video is gonna make your head implode. But if you're a normal person, like 98% of the people that subscribe to this channel, and you have the ability to have an open mind, but you rightfully have some concerns, then stick with me here, because I too had the same kind of concerns, but we're gonna address those together. One of the higher performing videos I have on this channel is a video I released sometime this year on the SeaSucker mobile kitchen setup. And I still use that thing. It's been great. It has not failed me. But if you look in the comment section of that video, it's very divided. There are people who actually really love the idea of having a mobile kitchen setup. They don't want to have something permanent in their rigs, or maybe their vehicle is too small for like a kitchen setup, so they want to be able to bring something that's portable. And then there are people on the other end of that spectrum that are like, that's gonna dent your doors, that thing is gonna fall, and every kind of gripe or concerns, rightfully, about the setup. Well, that's why I'm saying this product is going to be very controversial, and that is the SeaSucker mount for a Waterport. Yes, this Waterport that can weigh up to 42 pounds when filled with water. Can you hear it? The clickety clacks of comments. I can hear them. Like I said, I have my concerns too. When SeaSucker hit me up about this, I'm like, are you guys nuts? Like, this thing weighs 42 pounds and you want to put it up on suction cups. Well, let me ease your concerns by letting you know that this mount was actually a collaborative effort between SeaSucker and Waterport. Like, SeaSucker didn't just make a mount and today we're gonna sell it and you can put your Waterport on it. No, they actually worked with Waterport in designing and testing this. Like, they tested this rigorously, because I mean, think about it. If this thing fails, and one of the things that I was very concerned about is if you're holding up a Waterport with this thing and this is not as strong as it should be, this can go flying off on the highway, and that's not something that I would want. I wouldn't want the person behind me getting into an accident because this thing fell off. And they said, we tested everything and we wanted to make sure that that thing doesn't fall off. But don't take our word for it. We'll send you one. Go test it out yourself. Now, I already have Waterport mounts on both vehicles, on the Jeep and on the 4Runner. This is more for those of you who don't have the means of being able to put a permanent Waterport mount on your vehicle, or maybe you just don't want to have that there all the time, or you want to just be able to keep your Waterport in the garage, and when you go camping, overlanding, or even hitting the beach and you want to bring water with you, then you'll be able to just mount it up temporarily and then take it off when you get back home. So this is a great solution for some of you who actually don't want your rig to look like an overland rig on a daily basis. To be honest, I really don't have any doubts that this thing is going to work. I mean, for two reasons. Number one, I know that Waterport wouldn't co-brand something with another company if it wasn't tested rigorously. And number two, SeaSucker might be new to the overland space, but they've been in the suction cup game for like forever. They started off with marine applications, making mounts for boats and marine stuff, and then they got into the bicycling world where they were making bicycle mounts with suction cups, and it's holding like a ton of bikes. They know what they're doing when it comes to holding something that's a little bit heavy. But listen, I get it. Like, trust me, I get it. It's the same concerns I gave to SeaSucker when they called me about this product. Like, are you sure? And they're like, Asia, trust us. We're gonna get it out to you. You test it out for yourself and you'll see. Just make sure you mount it up properly, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. We're going to mount this thing up, and I'll show you how to mount this properly so it doesn't fail, and then we'll test it out in 2 different terrains, regular roads, and then we'll test it out on the trail. We'll see how it does when the vehicle is hitting bumps and is in corrugated roads and all that stuff, and see how well this thing holds up. But I've done this before. I've done SeaSucker stuff before. I know how this thing works. Let's go ahead and get this thing, test it out. First thing is to attach the Waterport universal mount to the SeaSucker mount. You might need to buy the Waterport universal mount as it's not always included in the Waterport kit. Now the top 2 bolts are easy enough to get to, but to attach the bottom bolt, you'll first need to remove the suction cup. You'll also need to put this bolt in the other direction because the nut won't fit in the back as the suction cup gets in the way. Once you've locked it in place, you can put the suction cup back on. Now prep the surface you'll be attaching this to. For the window, first I used a degreaser to loosen and get rid of grime and stuck on dirt. Then I used a regular glass cleaner to get rid of the haze the degreaser left behind, and then I went over it all with rubbing alcohol to get rid of any oils. Remove the plastic caps on the suction cups, but make sure to keep these and put them back on when not in use. These help keep the suction cups free of dust and dirt. Now pressing them out firmly to the window, pump the suction cups until the orange disappears and the pumps are pressed in all the way. Here I'm just using rope to tether to the mount. This is not something you have to do, but seeing as this is my first time testing this product, I just want to have a safety feature in place in case this whole thing falls off. At least this way it won't end up on the road. Now just slide in the Waterport and use a padlock at the top to keep it in place and you're good to go. Alright, so Waterport is mounted, ready to go. Again, just make sure there are no orange parts showing on those pumps. You want to make sure that those pumps are pressed in all the way because that means all the air has come out. Window, make sure it's super clean. I cannot stress that enough. You're not going to be taking this off anymore at this point. You're not removing this until after your trip because once you hit the trails, there's going to be dust and mud and all that stuff just splashing on the side of the vehicle. What you don't want to do is be taking this off and then trying to put it back on a dirty surface. Like, you don't want to do that. So you're basically keeping this on where it's at. Also, I wanted to make sure that I installed this in a place where I had clear line of sight from the driver's seat so I could see this through my side mirrors, and I wanted to do that so that I could kind of monitor it and see if any of the orange parts are starting to come out, because if it does, that means I didn't really get a good connection to begin with. Again, I did put that rope up there just for safety measures, not something you have to do. And I also put a padlock up here as well, just so that to make sure this doesn't come off the mount. So now we're gonna go drive down my neighborhood. There's some speed bumps, potholes, daily driving type stuff. See how well it does there. Then we'll take it on the highway, which I'm actually really nervous about because there's gonna be a ton more cars over there. And then we'll hit the trails and see how well it does on the trails. So let's go test this thing out. Alright, so I'm over here at the trails. Took about a 45-minute drive from my house. Went through like regular roads and then highways, and this thing is holding up really well. The only thing that's moving is the Waterport, but that's just because it's just held in there. But the mount itself, like, that thing is super secure. If you take a look, there's no orange parts still showing, so we are good there. I actually don't even think I'm gonna need this anymore. So now we're gonna go hit this trail, see how well this thing holds up there. But remember, this is Florida too. We're not gonna be crawling rocks, and we're not gonna be going through like crazy terrain. It's your regular off-road flat trails here. So let's see how this thing holds up. And I'm kind of upset that SeaSucker didn't come out with this before I punched holes through my hardtop for the Waterport mount. And you can see in the video where my Waterport mount is, I punched through the holes in my hardtop because that's where I wanted to mount my Waterport. But this would have been a much easier solution. It would just go right on the window, and when I'm not using it, if I'm just daily driving, I can leave all the stuff at home and just mount it up when I need it. Now, if I'm being honest, in a way, I sort of wanted this system to have issues. I didn't want it to fail, like I don't ever want that, but in a way I kind of wanted to have an issue to talk to you guys about. I'm sponsored by SeaSucker. Like, I work with them. I love those guys. They're amazing people. But I don't ever want this channel to come off as though I'm just peddling a product because a company that sponsors me just came out with it and suddenly it's the next best thing and I have absolutely no problems with it. No, I want to be honest about that product, whether or not I'm sponsored, because at the end of the day, you're more important to me than sponsorships. This is a risky thing. Right? You're putting a 42-pound water tank to the side of your vehicle and holding it in place with nothing but suction cups. The one thing I did not want happening is me going, oh, this product is perfect, it's awesome, you should get it, and then you get it and then it fails on you. I couldn't live with myself if this thing fell off and just injured somebody else. I really wanted to make sure that this thing held. So I wanted something to happen that I can talk to you guys about to watch out for, and nothing happened. Like, this thing was so stout. Like, it was sitting on the side of the vehicle and I was looking at it through my side mirrors and it didn't move, like not even a little bit. And I was going through a bunch of different stuff like speed bumps and potholes, and we got on the trail and you know, we all know the Jeep vibrates like crazy. It didn't move. It just was so still, and every time I would go and check on it once in a while, the suction cups held. Like, the orange didn't start showing up. Like, it was just held in place. And believe me, this thing is 42 pounds. This thing is filled to the brim with water, and I wanted to make sure I tested all that stuff out for you. So I could say personally with great confidence that this thing will hold, which is why I wish they would have come out with this before I mounted a Waterport mount to the vehicle, because I would have just loved to have used this one instead. Now, I will say the trails here in Florida are going to be a lot milder, right? I did have corrugation on the ground, so we had a lot of vibrations. There was sand on the ground, so I'm sliding here and there, and there were some places where I'm dipping up and down, but I'm not like crawling rocks or doing full send with the vehicle out of a trench. Like, I'm not doing that. Where you live and how you use your vehicles, well, your mileage may vary, like literally. But I think based on the experience I've had with this, regular driving down the highway, regular driving around your neighborhood, regular trails where it's basically you're just kind of coasting and cruising, this is not gonna like fall apart on you. If you're really just overlanding, right, and you're not rock crawling in that sense, this should hold up just fine. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, I am super impressed by the... Oh, wait. That's not like the best placement. That looked funny. I'm super impressed by this system, you guys. I was expecting some sort of mishap to happen, and none of that happened, which is like great news. This thing held up to its name, and I am glad that I was able to try it out. If I didn't already have a Waterport mount permanent to the vehicle and cut a hole through the hardtop, this is probably the system I would go with, honestly, like real talk. But again, have it in a way where you can keep an eye on it to make sure that, you know, there's no issues with it and you can see if it's gonna fail on you, and make sure you do everything you can to prepare the surface. And once you put this thing on, don't take it off until the end of your trip. Leave it on till you get back from your trip, then you can go ahead and take it back off. Otherwise, thank you to SeaSucker for allowing me to be one of the first people to try this out. Again, they revealed this at SEMA and they said it was a great hit over there. For those of you who are looking for something temporary and something that you don't have to drill a hole and you want to be able to just put up a Waterport wherever you want on any of your windows, this is a really good solution. Works really, really well. If you like this video, please make sure you smash, actually, don't smash, secure and don't drop that like button. Subscribe to our channel. Click that notification bell so we can let you be aware of new videos when they come out. And if it moves you, support us on Patreon. It gives you access to all of our videos before everyone else, and also access to our live streams when we do them. And as always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Baptism Overland. My name is Asia Sampson, and I will see you next time.
That shot made me look like I had boobs.